Ever feel like you're missing half the story in your decisions? Like there's a gap between what you see and what you understand? It highlights how often our perceptions are incomplete, leading us to act on partial information without even realizing it. So let's talk about something called the Ladder of Inference. Sounds complex, but stick with me, it's a game changer. First off, it's a simple model, really. It breaks down the steps our minds take when we're making sense of things, kind of like a behind-the-scenes look at our thought process. It lays out how we start by just observing something. Then, bit by bit, we add our own interpretations until we finally act. The thing is, this whole process often happens in a split second, without us even noticing. And here's the kicker. This ladder helps us spot where our thinking can lead us astray. It's like having a map that shows where all the mental potholes are, so we can avoid falling into them. All right, let's get real for a second. We're going to talk about climbing down from assumptions. You know, it's like retracing our steps in a maze. We're going back down that ladder of inference to see where we might have taken a wrong turn. It's all about getting back to reality, grounding our decisions in what's actually happening, not just what we think is happening. Let's break this down, starting with step 1, observation. Think of it as seeing the world through your own personal lens. We all have this tendency to see what we want to see, don't we? It's like we've got these built-in filters that highlight certain things while ignoring others. And those filters? They're our biases. They shape our view, coloring everything we observe with our past experiences, our beliefs, our expectations. The catch is, our perspective is always limited. We can't possibly take in everything, so we naturally focus on some things at the expense of others. It's like trying to see the whole picture, but only having a few puzzle pieces. Now, on to step 2, selecting data. This is where we get even more selective. It begs the question, why do we pick and choose certain bits of information? First off, it's about what feels relevant to us. We gravitate towards information that seems important based on our goals, our needs, what we're currently focused on. Then there's this thing called confirmation bias. It's a big one. We have a tendency to latch onto data that confirms what we already believe. It's like we're constantly looking for evidence to support our existing views, even if it means overlooking contradictory information. And let's not forget about mental shortcuts, heuristics. Our brains love efficiency, so we often take these shortcuts to make quick judgments. They're useful, but they can also lead us to overlook important details or jump to conclusions. All right, let's dive into step 3, adding meaning. This is where we start to really make things personal, like we're writing our own storybook based on the facts. It's all about interpreting the data we've gathered. We take those bits of information and try to figure out what they mean. But of course, it's not just a straightforward process. It's filtered through our individual perspectives. A huge part of this is our past experiences. They're like the lens through which we view new information. Everything we encounter gets compared to what we've already been through, shaping our understanding and reactions. And let's not forget about cultural context. The society we grow up in, the norms we're used to, they all play a role in how we interpret things. What might mean one thing in one culture could mean something entirely different in another. Moving on to step 4, making assumptions. This is where we start filling in the blanks, often without even realizing we're doing it. We're talking about those unconscious leaps we make. We take the meaning we've assigned to the data and then jump ahead, making guesses about things we don't actually know for sure. The problem is, these assumptions are often based on incomplete information. We haven't seen the whole picture, but we act as if we have. It's like deciding we know how a movie ends after only seeing the trailer. And this is where the potential for errors really starts to grow. The more we assume, the further we might stray from the truth. These assumptions can lead us down the wrong path, influencing our decisions and actions in ways that might not be helpful or accurate. All right, time for a quick question to see this in action. Imagine you see a coworker leaving work early. What's the first thought that pops into your head? They must be slacking off. They might have a personal emergency. They're probably going to another job interview. Management must have given them permission. The best answer here is, they might have a personal emergency. While any of these could be true, choosing the most neutral, empathetic option shows we're aware that we don't have all the facts. It's a reminder of how quickly we can jump to conclusions without considering alternative explanations. Let's tackle step 6, forming beliefs. This is where things get solidified. These are the stories we tell ourselves, and they're powerful. We start reinforcing our views, looking for anything that confirms what we've already decided to believe. It becomes a cycle, strengthening our convictions. This can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies, where our beliefs actually influence our actions and consequently the outcomes, making the initial belief seem true. And once these beliefs are set, they're hard to change. They become part of our core identity, shaping how we see the world and interact with it. Finally, we reach step 7, taking action. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the ripple effect of our thoughts made real. We're talking about how our beliefs shape our reality. Every action we take is based on the conclusions we've drawn, the beliefs we've formed. This can affect everything from our relationships to our work performance, creating a tangible impact on our lives and the lives of those around us. Let's jump into a real-life scenario to see the ladder of inference in action. A case study I call the almost firing. First, let's set the stage. We have a corporate president, Alex, who's ready to fire a long-time sales employee, Ed. The reason? Alex believes Ed just isn't committed to the company. To make sure he's making the right call, Alex brings in a consultant, Megan, to help navigate the situation. Now here's where the misunderstanding kicks in. Alex sees Ed's constantly late on submitting his sales reports and takes it as a clear sign of laziness and lack of dedication. He's also noticed some golf-themed items in Ed's office and jumps to the conclusion that Ed's more interested in playing golf than doing his work. But here's the reality. Ed is actually one of the company's top performers. He's incredibly dedicated, often working 14 to 15-hour days, and his customers love him. Let's break down Alex's perspective here. It's a classic case of misinterpretation, seen through the lens of the ladder of inference. On one side, we have the facts that Alex observed. On the other, the assumptions he made based on those observations. First off, Alex noticed that Ed's reports were consistently late. Based on the late reports, Alex jumped to the conclusion that Ed was lazy. He also saw golf-related items in Ed's office. Seeing the golf gear, he assumed Ed was prioritizing golf over his work responsibilities. And there was a noticeable lack of communication from Ed regarding the late reports. The lack of communication led Alex to believe that Ed was being disrespectful, not valuing the importance of timely reporting. Now, let's flip the script and look at Ed's perspective. It's a tale of blind spots and misunderstandings, all through the lens of his own ladder of inference. On one side, we have Ed's reality, what he knows and experiences. On the other, the misconceptions he's operating under. Ed knows he's a top performer, consistently exceeding sales expectations. However, Ed's unaware of just how critical the timely submission of his reports is to Alex and the company. He's putting in incredibly long hours, often working 14 to 15 hours a day. He's under the impression that a promotion is just around the corner, based on his sales record. Based on his performance, he genuinely believes he's excelling in his role. He's laser-focused on customer satisfaction, thinking that's the ultimate measure of his success. This is where the power of objectivity comes into play. Let's talk about how Megan, the consultant, used the ladder of inference to bridge the gap between Alex and Ed. She didn't just jump to conclusions. Instead, she carefully climbed down both Alex's and Ed's ladders, retracing their steps to understand their perspectives. Then, she guided them back up, this time with a focus on shared, objective data. This process helped reveal the misunderstandings and align their perceptions with reality. So, how can we use the ladder of inference for better decisions in our own lives? It boils down to a few key practices. First, question your assumptions. Ask yourself, what am I taking for granted here? And where might I be wrong? Next, seek more data. Don't just rely on what you initially see or hear. Dig deeper, look for more information, and be open to changing your initial assessment. Make an effort to consider other perspectives. Put yourself in someone else's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. Finally, reflect on your beliefs. Ask yourself, why do I believe this? And how are my beliefs influencing my actions? This isn't just theoretical stuff, it has real-world applications. We're talking about using the ladder of inference everywhere, from boardrooms to bedrooms. It's a powerful tool for improving communication. By understanding how we and others form conclusions, we can communicate more clearly and effectively. It's incredibly useful for resolving conflicts. When you can see where misunderstandings originate, it's easier to find common ground. It helps us make more informed decisions. By basing our choices on a more complete and objective understanding of the situation, we're more likely to make good calls. And ultimately, it's about building stronger relationships. When we approach others with empathy and a willingness to understand their perspective, we create deeper, more meaningful connections. Let's talk about how we can use the ladder of inference as a tool for self-improvement. It's about more than just understanding others. It's about understanding ourselves. By regularly reflecting on our own thought processes, we can start to identify patterns, biases, and assumptions that might be holding us back. This kind of self-awareness is key to personal growth and development. It allows us to make more intentional choices, to challenge our own beliefs, and to continuously evolve in a positive direction. If you take away one thing today, let it be this. The ladder of inference is a tool for understanding, not just judgment. It's about recognizing the complexities of our thinking, the ways we can get tripped up, and the importance of empathy. It's a reminder that there's always more to the story than what we initially see or assume. So here's my challenge to you. It's your turn to climb down the ladder. Start applying these principles in your own life. Start making better decisions today. Question your assumptions, seek out more information, and strive to see things from multiple perspectives. And hey, if you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Let me know in the comments how you're using the ladder of inference in your life. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and remember, every step down the ladder is a step towards greater understanding and connection.